Welcome into Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for finding us on your favorite podcast app, whether that's Android or Apple. Spotify is a great place to find us on both. Also, you can find us on Dash Radio. Download the Dash Radio app. Search for Nothing But Net. We're there every day during the NBA season from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And, of course, I have my own show now on OnsideRadio.com that covers more than just the Heat, but also the Heat at 10 a.m. every day. That's OnsideRadio.com. Also, FiveReasonSports.com. Spell it out, F-I-V-E, ReasonSports.com. That is your no paywall site for South Florida sports. Check out the great sponsors of the Five Reasons Sports Network, including our friend Dr. Jonathan Chung. He's up in Wellington, but he can treat you anywhere that you are here in South Florida because they do that telemedicine thing. You can find him at Keystone Chiropractic. You know, unless you're a manual laborer or a high-level athlete, you're more likely to have back pain because you're not lifting enough weights instead of lifting too much weight. Many back injuries occur because of deconditioning or chronic sitting. One of the most effective ways to help heal and prevent back pain is by increasing core and back strength by lifting weights. If you want guidance on a weightlifting or core strengthening program, they over at Keystone Chiropractic, led by Dr. Jonathan Chung, can put together a plan for you through a free consultation and a telehealth visit. Also, he is a huge South Florida sports fan and just a great guy. So make sure you check out chiropractickeystone.com. That's the order, chiropractickeystone.com, or follow Dr. Jonathan Chung on Twitter at Dr. Jonathan Chung, Jon, or at Keystone Neuro. That's Neuro. And now, today's episode.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
on the floor.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily show on the Miami Heat and the NBA featuring Ethan Skolnick with Alex Toledo and Greg Sylvander, part of the Five Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor. I'm Greg Sylvander, your host. Ethan Skolnick is not here. With me is Alex Toledo, a.k.a. Tropical Blanket. He is live from the AAA after this slaughtering that just took place.
Unfortunately.
Right? Ethan bailed on this, and it's appropriate that he did because I wouldn't want to this was when I started thinking about doing podcasts. One of the biggest things that tugged at my heart was, how was I going to ever do a show after a game like this when the team got absolutely just annihilated and it was just embarrassing and it was awful. I mean, I don't really know where to start. Like, I'm a little shell shocked, to be honest. Like 144-97, there was not many signs of life from the get-go. The turnovers persist. The three-point shooting, I know, is historic. So, like, I definitely think we should keep that in perspective, that what Milwaukee did was special. But there's some concerns. Like, Alex, since you were in the room, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the game, but also, like, what was the vibe amongst the players from what you could see?
Well, I mean, that start to that game, I think, is kind of what set the tone for the rest of the game. It's just like they were just climbing they were climbing an uphill, climb ever since that first quarter, where there was just so many turnovers. They couldn't get their defense together. And all of a sudden, before you know it, it's 21-3. And look, man, looking back on it again, because I ended up watching the first half highlights during halftime to try to make sense of all this. It was ugly. It was ugly. That first quarter was even uglier than I remember it. Like, there was too many turnovers. I think that's the obvious thing there. Like, they just did not look organized on offense. They were letting the Bucks, I think, kind of determine the pace when they had the ball, and the defense, to me, didn't look all that disciplined, especially in that first quarter. But after that, like, the Bucks just completely got into it and never fell off. Like, every single player ended up being on fire. It was one of those things where, like, once everybody starts hitting. When it rains, it pours. And all of a sudden you have Bobby Portis and Thanasis Antetokounmpo, nailing threes, and Drew Holiday nailing multiple step backs. And, a couple of them were covered. And I just think from there, it was, it got away from them really, really quick. And there wasn't much from there.
Yeah, the turnovers, it's just, this is like game after game, 20 turnovers, 20 plus over and over again. So that's something that I think really they talked so much about continuity and have a roster that's coming back, and these guys have played together and they were just together. And we talked about how that would be something that would be an advantage. And they don't look like a team that's played much together. They don't look that like they're in sync. Bam Adebayo was not aggressive enough. I think we need to talk a little bit about the fact that with Jimmy out, you have to see an increased just level of engagement from Bam Adebayo all around. And I'm not one guy to say like that one game should dictate what we mean about Bam, but this was one where you felt like he could have stepped up a little bit more. I mean, 7 field goal attempts. It was a rough game, 5 turnovers. I was disappointed in Bam tonight.
To me, there's no doubting that Bam had a rough game. But man, like the reaction on Heat Twitter, I think has kind of swayed me to defending him just because I didn't feel like it was all his fault, not in the least. I think it's easy to blame Bam when, you just give him a supermax extension or something close to it. And everybody just kind of wants him to, be that 1A scoring guy when Jimmy is off the floor. But that's not who he is. And that's not how he got to this contract, by being that guy. I don't think that's his game yet. I think he's slowly growing into that and slowly becoming more aggressive, as an offensive player, as a scorer. But that's not his game. And he definitely should have looked for his shot more often tonight, especially like at the top of the post when you have Brook Lopez defending you, who has a 1/3 of the speed that Bam has. I think he could, drive by him and try to create some stuff through there. And I just don't think they had the ball in his hands enough tonight. And when he did, I think was a little bit hesitant, was doing a lot to try to set up his shooters, which is how their offense runs, especially versus the Bucks drop defense where the shooters can thrive. But again, like there needs to be a balancing act where it's between facilitating and looking for your own shot. I don't think he had to step up his shot load tonight, and it went down. I think you can't let that happen. It's tough because Giannis and Brook Lopez is probably the second or third best defensive front court there is in the league. It's really tough for Bam to just turn into that guy, but you kind of have to force it a little bit, and I don't think he did that tonight.
Yeah, so obviously we want to see Bam be more aggressive, but I don't think it's a game that we can really point at and pick apart Bam too much, because it was just a team. The whole team was sunk. I mean, Tyler Hero looked okay. In the grand scheme, I think this was a game where you can't really even look at a box score and say anyone looked good in a drubbing like this. Myers Leonard and Mo Harkless are becoming non-functional, and I think that's something we have to address it at some point. I mean, they got yanked quickly in this game, but those were 2 guys that were brought in to play roles in Miami and get them through the regular season, I think in particular. And seeing them struggle like this, it's not I don't think it's a good sign, and it's good that they're on expiring contracts because obviously there's flexibility there, but it's getting through these lulls of the season that I think it's difficult. I don't know how they're like. Precious looks like he's ready to play more than Myers going forward. I don't know how you justify doing anything else.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And to me, like Precious just keeps standing out every time he's on the floor. I've been so impressed by him in each of these games. Like he just keeps, looking better and better as far as, adjusting to the speed of the NBA game and just making plays out there with his effort and that motor that he has. I mean, he is so athletic. It's not just effort, right? Like that effort that he puts in there with his body, his frame, his athleticism, with running and jumping, like he's going to end up making plays. And, like I said in another podcast, I think people were kind of scouts and college basketball watchers were kind of down on him as a guy who makes reads, but I think he's looked okay in it. Like he hasn't really made dumb passes. He's playing within the flow of the offense. He doesn't really force any shots. He had that one, mid-range jumper that he took at the end of the shot clock there, which was pretty promising. I love what he did on defense. I think I agree with you. He's ahead of Myers to me, and I'm kind of throwing Mo Harkless into that group of guys with Myers Leonard and Kendrick Nunn as far as, well, if they're not playing with Jimmy, Bam, and Duncan, they're just not very good rotation players. And I think until proven otherwise, I think that's where I'm going to stay, just because they're just, to me, those 3 are the most up and down guys, whether it's, Nunn when his shooting isn't going, or it's Myers when he's not really hitting shots and he doesn't really provide anything else other than being able to match up versus a 5. And if Mo Harkless isn't playing great defense, he's not giving you anything out there. So I'm with everybody else that I want to see Precious and KZ in that rotation over these guys. I want to see, I think Precious is already there. And, KZ had an up and down game. I think he looked all right on defense. And I think we're going to get there eventually. But there's just so many guys that Spo wants to play. And I think, I think tonight helped going to where we want to go into kind of phasing some of these dudes out, because I just don't know how much longer you can keep empowering Harkless and Myers. You got to see him with Jimmy in the starting lineup more often. But if it just keeps going like this, where they keep, giving you duds, I think something's going to change eventually. You saw in the second half, they started Avery Bradley and KZ Okpala. So I think Spo might be kind of agreeing with us there.
Yeah, no, and Avery Bradley was actually one of the few bright spots tonight. I mean, like
Absolutely.
if there has to be one, like I'm not going to sit here, and I know I've been called the sunshine pumper on Heat Twitter, and people always say that I'm, looking at the positive angles, and this is just one game, and we should definitely stay, with that perspective. But Avery Bradley, if we're looking for a bright spot, he's the guy tonight. I want to see more of him. I feel like 24 minutes could turn into 30 a night or two here going forward, particularly if Jimmy's out. I think finding ways to get him on the floor can only be helpful. Trying to figure out a way to get Duncan loose without Jimmy out there. It was tough tonight. So that's something else that I think is worth kind of, finding a way to unlock Duncan is going to be key tomorrow. But do you think Avery Bradley could potentially slide into the starting lineup going forward?
Yeah, I mean, you know how I felt about Avery Bradley going into the season. I think he definitely makes sense as a starter. I don't know if he will. I wouldn't be against it though. I just hope he's in the rotation consistently. And I'm not opposed to not playing him every now and then just to kind of keep him healthy for the playoffs. But he's not Iguodala. He just turned 30, so I think Avery Bradley can take it. I loved what he showed tonight. I think his perimeter defense, he's really hounding guys out there, and he can even switch onto bigger guys even without the strength, just because he knows how to adjust no matter the size that he's playing with. And I'm not saying that he could switch onto like bigger wings or fours, but he did a pretty good job, like on Middleton and Drew Holiday, who are guys who have a pretty good size advantage on him. I think him, Precious, and Tyler were the three bright spots tonight as far as like taking away positives. I think Tyler obviously had a rough start, but kept the turnovers down and ended up with a really efficient 9 of 16 game against a team that has multiple perimeter defenders, starting in that starting lineup between Holiday, DiVincenzo, and even Chris Middleton. And then you got Giannis and Brook Lopez in the paint. It's a really, really, really good defensive lineup. And Tyler knew when that drop was there, he's going to have the pull-up, and he looked really, really good taking those pull-ups, and that was something he struggled with in the finals. So I thought that was really, really good to see from Tyler, him getting that confidence there. But, to me, those were the three guys that I was pretty happy with. Everything else was just a complete dumpster fire.
We'll get back to tonight's episode in a second, but before we do, I want to tell you about another of the great sponsors on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I feel like this is Heat Fan Day because he goes actually by Heat Fan Eric on his email. He's been here on the podcast with us with his Value Plays segment, and I can tell you a little bit about him. His name is Eric Brown. He's the official realtor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. What should every business professional learn from the Miami Heat? Culture, that disciplined preparation, full-time maximum effort, and persevering no matter how difficult the task are the pillars of success. When you hire Eric Brown, again, the official realtor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, you've engaged a professional who admires and embraces those principles. He's got several years of experience representing clients all down the line, from celebrities down to first-time home buyers, and he will work with you the same way, no matter who you are. And obviously, with a business school education from Wharton, he's got a mindset that can help you get the best possible deal and an unmatched level of service. So if you're considering selling or buying a home in South Florida, you just want to know what your property is worth, contact our guy Eric at 305-967-9089. That's 305-967-9089. Or the easiest way, go to the website, that's FIVE, reasonsrealtor.com, the official realtor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And now back to the episode.
Right. So, and I know that me saying is Avery Bradley going to start sounds like a softball question, but can Spo really start Myers Leonard and Mo Harkless coming off this 144-97 game? I just don't even know if Spoelstra has the guts, we'll say, to roll out the same lineup. I feel like something has to be shook up, and it's going to be interesting to see what adjustments could be made, because there's some, Olynyk is a player that I thought that could thrive, potentially in a game against Milwaukee, and he was not there tonight. I mean, it's almost like you don't know where they're going to go. You're out of answers. You hope Milwaukee will shoot, obviously at a lower clip. And then, you have to figure out a way to get better play from KZ, Kelly Olynyk. Some of these bench guys have to step in and play minutes. I just don't know how they can roll out the same lineup.
Yeah, and that's the thing. To me, that's going to be one of those themes all year that, if no trades are made, we're going to be talking all season about the rotation kind of being more or less in flux or at the very least fluctuating. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a set rotation. Kelly not getting that much playing time tonight, I thought was a little bit odd, especially because, he could shoot and he could do a little bit of creation when guys are out. So I thought they could have used him. But also I thought Goran looked pretty good. But yeah, like I just don't think Harkless and Leonard, like they really have not shown you much at all as far as, Myers had that game the other day. Was it Christmas when he balled out? I'm already forgetting, but Myers looked good. He had the sped up release there, but
yeah,
it's just like if Jimmy, Bam, and Duncan aren't there making it easy for him, he just looks kind of lost sometimes. And like I've already said it, I think him and Harkless should be out of the rotation. I'm going to see how long that takes if it even happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's just kind of fluctuating between 12 different guys all year.
I can't remember a loss with this kind of disparity that like sticks to my gut. I'm trying to think back. There was a game against Cleveland where I know that the Heat lost by a ton. I can't remember exactly by how much. That ring night against Chicago where they got completely just run off the floor after accepting the championship rings from
worst Halloween ever.
Yeah. This is up there in terms of games where you just want to forget about them. So I'm reluctant to continuing to wax poetic about it. Closing thoughts going into the next game, adjustments that you want to see, even if they're irrational, kind of just final takeaways.
Don't start off the game so damn bad. Like, Jesus Christ, just just pace yourself a little bit. Like, I feel like if it wasn't for that terrible start, like it wouldn't have been that much of a blowout. But man, like when you come out and get blown out from the start like that, and you don't have your best player, like it was never a game after that. And I think tomorrow will definitely be a closer game. I don't think the Bucks are going to hit 29 threes tomorrow. But to me, this is a warning shot. This is the type of game that, for a lot of other organizations in the league, we'll get a coach fired or we'll get somebody traded or some other drastic move. So I expect them to come out tomorrow with just a lot more fervor. I expect it to be a closer game. And if not, just watch out for the James Harden trade.
There we go. No, you're heading in like, so this is where I want to close. And that's that how they respond in this game matters. Like, I think that seeing them play better, seeing guys compete and that kind of stuff, it matters right now. I think that it would be naive to say that the young players in the Miami Heat locker room didn't hear the James Harden stuff. I think that there's no coincidence that the media was informed, kind of in unison that the Heat had pulled out of talks. And a lot of that has to do with making sure that your young players can stay comfortable when you're going through rough stretches. And the Harden talks are only going to get louder if this team doesn't respond the way that you would hope that they would against Milwaukee. And then you have Dallas. So it doesn't get any easier. And obviously Jimmy is out. Don't want to make too much of it, but I do think that there's going to need to be some lineup shakeups. And if, they don't squeak one out against Milwaukee in the second game of this matchup, it's just going to get louder with this James Harden stuff, the way that he's playing, but we'll save that for another conversation. We are not going to bore you with any more talk from this blowout. Thank you for joining us. Ethan will be back next episode. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to the Five on the Floor on the Five Regional Sports Network.